Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. We are here at a special called meeting at the Fulton County Board of Registration and Elections to consider a number of things. I would ask for an approval or any changes to the agenda today.
Yes, Madam Chair, I make a motion to add the interim director discussion for item 3 to the agenda.
Okay, properly moved. Is there a second?
I second the item.
Properly moved and seconded. We will do that after the residency challenge. We'll just put it last on the agenda. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? There are none. That motion carries. That's added to the agenda. All right, voter registry, residency. Oh, we have to approve the agenda. Thank you so much.
Approve, I make a motion to approve the agenda.
Second.
Properly moved and seconded. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? There are none. The agenda is approved. Thank you so much. You wouldn't think I'd get rusty in a couple of days, but I did. All right. Ms. Marshall, do you want to take us through the challenge that we have before us?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
All righty, so we have one challenge that we are hearing today. It comes from Mr. Jason Frazier, submitted on March 4th. Mr. Frazier submitted a total of, well, the first category is he submitted 7 people that are currently registered at business addresses. My recommendation for those 7 people is, provided the findings brought forward by Mr. Frazier, I recommend that we place these voters in an inactive status, giving them 30 days to respond with an address change before placing them in cancel hearing status. The reason why I say that is because we're leading up to an election, and these people are in active status and voting, well, active and inactive, and they have voted last year. And what we'll do is we'll mail them a change of address, a voter registration application for updating their address, in addition to a letter with the decision that you all make today, just to give them some time to update their address. So kind of to go in accordance with the list maintenance process that the Secretary of State's office do when we do that national change of address, kind of like 30 days, 40 days internally, without just canceling people, just give them the opportunity to update their address.
So may I ask a couple questions?
Yes, ma'am.
One, is the 30-day like an official time frame? You mentioned 40 days. What's the determination of the 30 days?
So the 30-day is what the public is usually aware of, and then the 40-day is something that's internal. So what happens is we send out a confirmation notifying them that we received notification that their address is a business address and they have 30 days to respond. But internally, we know that they have a 40-day clock. And it's just kind of like it is exactly what the Secretary of State's office does. So we just want to make sure that we are being consistent in our list maintenance process. And I think that we should give them a chance to update their address before canceling them.
Okay. Would you also, if this is not out of line in that letter, notify them of the last day to register prior to the primary?
Yes. So the VR deadline for the May election.
Yeah, I mean, you're going to have to make a distinction between when we'll take action, but, you know, sometimes people slip up and so.
That's a great idea.
If that's confusing, forget I said it, but I'd like to give people as much information as we can.
Oh, yes, that's great. Erring on the side of the voter. I will, and I can also email you all a copy of the letter that we send out enclosing the application.
Okay.
Yes,
That'd be
ma'am.
great.
And then one more question. So they will be canceled hearings. So if we took the action that you recommend, they would be canceled, but it wouldn't take effect until after the federal election? Or?
That is correct. So for right now, Depending on the decision you make today, if you take my recommendation, what TJ and I will do is we will put them in inactive status just so that they're not active. And then after the 30-day or 40-day list maintenance clock, then they will go into cancel hearing status. But it won't technically be 30, 40 days because by law, we won't be able to make any more cancellations until after the May election.
So in practical terms, let's just say I'm one of those people, you send me the letter, I don't get back in touch with you, but I go to vote in the primary, what will be my experience?
So if you do not get back in touch with us and you go to vote in the primary, your experience will be you will be able to vote.
Okay.
You will be in inactive status, but voters that are in inactive status are eligible to vote. So once you go in and you vote in person, you're going to be placed back in active status because the only difference is making contact with our office. So once you vote, you'll be back in active, you'll be good to go.
But they would still have the inaccurate address. Would that get corrected at the time that they?
Yes, so what we could do is we could put special notes and records like in memos. I got to make sure that it'll coincide with Jarvis because I pretty much know the ins and outs of ENET, but I'll have to make sure Jarvis will do the same. We can add a memo saying that this voter will need to fill out, especially during early voting, we can catch it, that they need to fill out a voter registration application updating their address. And the reason why the address is very important is because we just want to make sure we have them in the correct precinct and the correct district information. So I did look the place up. It appears to be a business. It doesn't have UPS on the door, but it is in like a shopping center. So just to give them the opportunity to say, hey, we've received notice. We actually just did this the beginning of last year, so I'm not sure why these particular people were not caught on that particular list maintenance received from the state. But if they go in on election day or during early voting, they will be allowed to vote, but asked to fill out a voter registration application.
Okay.
And would that vote be provisional? Is that a provisional ballot?
So if we place them, that's a good question. If we place them in inactive status today, no ma'am, it will not. They will still be allowed to vote and asked to fill out the application. But if you go ahead and put them in council hearing status today, then they would have to vote provisional.
Thanks for that clarification.
Okay.
Can you give me the 7 names?
Yes, I absolutely can. So, excuse me, the first person is Charles Jack Thomason. The second person is Donald Hampton Adams.
It's all on the second page addressed UPS boxes, is that right?
Yes, I put
there we go.
business
Okay.
addresses,
Okay.
Oh,
UPS
sorry.
box. Oh, no, it's okay.
Thank you.
So if you take a look, I believe the latest date that I saw was 2014, well, 2012, and then, well, the oldest date was 2012. The most recent date, these people voted last year in the January 25th election. So the ones that are like 2012 to 2016, it's all about your, whatever you would like to do. But the people for last year is what makes me feel like we should give them the opportunity to just update their addresses.
Okay. Okay, let's go to the next category.
Okay. The next category is Mr. Frazier submitted a list of 24 deceased people or presumed deceased people. One of them were already in canceled deceased status, so I removed them from the challenge because that's the whole purpose of it, is to place them in canceled deceased status. So that brought the number to 23. So these 23 voters, they are currently in active status. Our recommendation, based on the evidence brought forward by Mr. Frazier, what we could do is place these voters in canceled deceased status because the 23 obituaries were provided, and I verified them myself.
Okay.
One
And these,
thing.
and these we can remove now.
Yes, these can be removed now. And I was just stating, even with the removal of ineligible voters for the following, even in the list maintenance or the removal of ineligible voters, the death of a registrant is not subject to the 90-day limitation. So if people are deceased, we can cancel them right away.
Okay. Can I ask one more question related to that? None of the people, the 23 or 24 people that are, have a deceased status have voted since their,
No.
okay.
Great question. No. So no one on the canceled deceased spreadsheet, none of them have voted since their deceased date. So when I looked at the obituary, for example, if they passed in 2021, well, if they passed in like 2019, there was no voter participation history past that date, which was an awesome thing, so.
Yeah, okay. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Great, thank you so much, Shamira. Could you, you have the law, the federal law. Would you mind reading that? I think that might be helpful for listeners to know about the removal.
Okay, give me just one
Oh,
moment.
yeah, sorry. Yeah.
No, you're okay. Okay, so in regards to voter list maintenance, OCGA 21-2-228A, counties may continue to conduct specific voter list maintenance efforts to ensure that ineligible voters are removed from the electors list in a timely manner. County list maintenance should be conducted as frequently as is practical to ensure that ineligible voters do not remain on the electors list. As you continue list maintenance processes leading up to the election, please keep in mind the limitations on list maintenance activities established under the National Voter Registration Act of 1993, abbreviated as NVRA. Specifically, NVRA, National Voter Registration Act of 1993, provides that any program to systematically remove the names of ineligible voters from the official list of electors must be completed no later than 90 days prior to the date of a primary or general election for federal office. Removal of ineligible voters for the following reasons is not subject to the 90-day limitation. At the request of the registrant, the felony conviction or judicial determination of mental incompetency of the registrant, the death of the registrant, correction of registration records pursuant to subchapter IH, the verification process of determining the eligibility of a person applying to register in accordance with any applicable court order or lawful law. And that's the end of that code section.
Thank you so much for reading that. I think that's very helpful for our listeners and for voters to know that the limitations of removing people, within that window. But at the same time, if a person is deceased or there are other reasons that people can be removed.
Yes, ma'am.
Before.
Did you have any questions? No. Okay. All right, continue.
Okay, and Mr. Frazier also submitted a list with 4 names on it. And those 4 names were actually, well, it was only 2 people, but there were 4 records. So what happens is, I merged the records, and these voters are not a part of the challenge. So I would like to explain that. Duplicate registration is, duplicate registrations happen when a data transcriber inputs an error. So there's a possibility that 2 records can be created. So what happens in our office, we do what is called a duplicate merge, and we merge the records. And taking a look at the 2 voters that he submitted, on 2 of the records that were incorrect, there was no voter participation history. So what I did was I merged the records to make them one, and those 2 names are now active and merged and everything is correct. So they were not a part of the challenge today.
How often do we do the merging of the lists? How often do you do that in the office?
We do those on a monthly basis. So we receive a list from the Secretary of State's office, and it comes in directly on our dashboard in eNet, and we process those. So I was speaking with Ms. Woolard before the meeting. I'm going to ask the state to just ensure that there is no limitations on merging duplicate records. From my experience and years of experience, we've never stopped processing our duplicate applications. We process those as they come in. So what I kind of want the public to understand is in regards to the duplicates, because we just received like 12,000 today, there is no challenge to remove them. Nothing's being challenged, their residency, their livelihood, or anything. It's just to say, hey, there are records out there that have been created in error, and to just keep down on the possibility of double voting and any other issues, will you guys merge them? So we will work on those diligently. I'll do the research, and we'll decide the next step for those records received today. So it's not really a cancellation, it's just a merging so that you're only one person instead of two.
Thank you.
You're very
So
welcome.
so the 11,000 names we received today are all allegedly duplicates?
From my first reading of the email on my way down, yes, ma'am.
And so how did our process, if it happens regularly, not catch those as duplicates?
To be honest with you, I don't have a direct answer for that one, but I can try to figure out, because what I always like to do is after the meetings, I'll send something to the state like, hey, these are my questions. This is what I'm confused about. Because we do receive those just like with the felons on a monthly basis, but I can't say that you're gonna catch every one, if that makes sense.
So, so just from a process question, because I think all of us are trying to figure out how best to accomplish the same goal. Of those 11,000 that we'll consider, and I will wait for you to have an informed answer versus put you on the spot.
Yes, ma'am.
But normally, that would be something the state would initiate on the first round, and then we would deal with, or we do our own
Okay.
match for duplicates?
So what happens is the state sends us a list on our dashboard, in which I stated we process those from our dashboard monthly. In addition to that, when processing applications, we have what is a countywide search versus a statewide search. We always ask that the data entry clerks select statewide so that you can see if there are other people in the state with that same name and address and stuff. But for example, if they make a mistake and they only have it on county and it doesn't, the person does not pop up, then what happens is you click on new registering. So you just created a whole nother person in error because you simply forgot one step. So we find duplicates as well when we're processing applications. I'll say, hey, there's two people out here with the same name, same date of birth, and we go ahead and merge them like right then. And we find duplicates a lot during our processing of DDS applications, online applications. So what we've done is we've revamped the training process, made it more in-depth, sit down with people, hands-on training, so that we can decrease the number of duplicates. But it's a simple data transcribing error, honestly.
Okay.
Because if I put in one digit off on a person's birthday or one digit off on their social security number or something, it'll create a whole nother record. Keep in mind, paper applications, we're dealing with trying to be handwriting experts. So it's a simple mistake, but they can add up. But we find them in processing, and we also receive them from the state. There's no other way that we get them.
Okay, great, thank you. Other
You're welcome.
questions? Okay, Mr. Frazier, I know you had a bunch of questions. You don't have to talk right now, but I want to give you the opportunity to get your questions answered. The red light will come on if it's working.
All right, can you hear me? Yeah, so I appreciate you looking at those, and I guess for more clarifications, each one of the ones I submitted today, each one of those people are a duplicate at the exact same address. So I didn't look across the street, I didn't look across town or another county. So again, I'm not sure where the process broke down, but clearly something broke down. Or the one example, one guy was listed 5 times, same first name, last name, but then there could be a transcribe because there was a 1-digit difference in birth year, but the exact same address across the board, clearly the same guy. So,
So.
yes, absolutely.
Could I stop you right? Go
Sure.
ahead.
Oh, no, I was just gonna say, as stated before, we don't look at the addresses for duplicates, but even you just said it, it could be 1 digit off with the birthday, it could be a letter left off of a last name, and that's how duplicates happen.
Yes.
But as far as the addresses, we don't look at that, the addresses for duplicates.
Oh, I guess what I meant is, I look, at one Main Street, if there were 2 Bob Smiths at one Main Street, and it could be, Bob Smith and Bob E. Smith with the same birth year, so that made it, pass the smell test on clearly a duplicate. So
Okay.
that's where those came from. So they should be a pretty obvious duplicate on 99% of them. However, being that there were so many errors in, say, birth year or name, a lot of names had clear typos in the first name or the last name, but same address, same birth year. So some of them, and there's a lot of them that might have 1 year different on the birth year, or, 1978, 1987, which that possibly could be, or it could be a sibling. But some of those need to be looked at. But, and then again, the worst one I found was 5 of the same person, and then one of them had 4 different misspellings of the exact same name, that, anytime there's an apostrophe or a hyphenated last name, there's piles of duplicates on those.
And he's speaking of what he just submitted today, not the challenge that you're hearing today.
The 14.
Yeah, okay, well, let's hold off on
Oh,
the
I'm
stuff
sorry, I
coming up,
thought-
because I was like, well, we only did 2, and if
No,
if you
I'm
had
sorry.
5 names, that's not what we're looking at.
No, I totally apologize.
Yeah.
I thought when she was asking about some of those, or when you were talking
Got it.
about those. But
Okay.
yeah, the 2 I submitted today were the same address, same person. One had clearly a misspelling of the first name, so
Okay.
I thought that passed the smell test on.
Okay,
But I guess my question is, it sounds like these will be taken off, or at least the initial 4. Do you know what the time frame is on, like, when would I check a future voter roll to see that those are removed, just to double check? And
Okay, so if my board approves today, you could check back as early as tomorrow to see that the deceased people are canceled. So what happens is, once the board make their decision today, we go ahead and cancel these people deceased, and then we'll also follow up with another letter, just letting them know what our BRE decided, and also if they believe it was done in error, because we do have people that we place in deceased status and they show up to vote, but I feel confident in these because I actually verified them myself. We'll still mail them another letter saying, hey, if you believe this was done in error, then please fill out this application in order to re-register. So by close of business tomorrow, we will have these 23 voters canceled deceased and mail them a letter, but the 7, depending on what the board says today, if we'll place them in inactive status, or would they like to cancel hearing and not give them the opportunity to change their address. But I think we're gonna allow them to make their decision. But you can check it back by close of business tomorrow for all of the final registrar findings.
Okay. And then as far as duplicate voters, I know the ones I submitted, I can't remember off the top of my head, but I don't think they had voting history, if I remember right, on one of them? Or-
No, they did not have any voter, so in the incorrect records, there was no voter participation history. So now if you go back and check out, because I put their regular their new reg numbers in, I can email them to you. If you take a look, the voter participation history will be up under the oldest record. The one with the history of voting. So the incorrect records did not have any voter participation history.
Okay. And then in the off chance that somebody happened to have voted twice, how does that work and emerge? I mean, these examples didn't, but you'll see that on the 12,000 list.
We'll get you an answer to that question.
Okay.
let's stay on the list we're on.
Sure,
Not
sure.
that that's not a valid question, but let's
Yeah.
work
It-
with
it
the
just helps me
information we're working
understand.
on.
Sure.
Do you have other questions?
I think that should be it for the moment.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
All right. Ms. Marshall, how should we, oh, go ahead.
I have a question.
Sure.
Do we know what the law says about using a UPS box or a PO box for,
So what I found in reading the code sections was, for example, and this subject comes up a lot when it pertains to residency. If it is a business address, but they lay their heads there at night, as Mr. Johnson was saying in a prior meeting, a lot of places now, they have living quarters on top of them. So we
Right.
can't stop people from registering to vote there. But when I looked this particular place up, there is no residential living. It's in a plaza. So what the law states is, if you have submitted an address that is a business address, then what we do is we put them in like it's internal memos that we can use to say, hey, you need to fill out a new voter registration application. I wish I could find that particular code section. I can get that one for you, Dr. Ruth, and email it to you all as well, because I just read it.
but we couldn't, these 7 couldn't be removed anyway because they don't fall within, so we have to wait until the 30 days or the 40 days after, or after, they're part of the clock, the federal clock.
Yes.
Other questions? Okay. How shall we proceed with this? Should we do each group? I keep forgetting, as many times as we've done this, I forget how we do that. Should we do each group? Mm-hmm. Okay. I don't get to make motions, so it would be a bouncing, let's just ping pong back and forth.
There you go. I'll make a motion to take the Shamira's recommendation on the 7 electors to move them into, I don't know, what am I moving them
Inactive.
into? Inactive, and reach out to them for the change of address.
Second?
Properly moved and seconded. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? There are none. The motion passes.
And I move that the department remove the 23 deceased voters from the voter rolls.
Second?
Properly moved and seconded. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? There are none. The deceased folks will be removed from the voter rolls.
And
I don't think we have to take action on the next 2 because they're resolved.
Already done, okay.
Okay. Ms. Marshall, thank you so much. I appreciate all of your care and the work that you have to do to verify what
Yes.
kind of address is an address and all of those other things in your guidance. So thank you very much for that.
You're very welcome.
Unless there is anything more on that particular issue, we'll move to the next agenda item.
No, ma'am, there
Okay.
wasn't. Thanks.
Thank you very much.
You're very welcome.
I'll just set up this conversation. As we all know, Mr. Barron will be leaving us on April 1st, and we are proceeding on schedule with our search for a new director, but we don't know when the conclusion of that will happen. As many of you know, not only do we have to make a selection, but then we have to have the Board of Commissioners ratify that decision, and there's timing issues and other things. So we can't exactly say when we will have a new director in place, but I feel reasonably certain that it will not be April 1st. So we need to make a motion to appoint someone to be interim at that time so that our staff can begin preparing for a transition, and I thought I would turn it over to my colleagues on setting that up.
I'd like to make a motion, Madam Chair, to make Ms. Nadine Williams the interim director.
I second that motion.
Properly moved and seconded. Is there any discussion?
No, Nadine has been here for quite some time, and this could be a very good opportunity for her, so.
Yeah, I think she's been here since I was a teenager, probably. Yeah. You shouldn't be laughing. I'm going to get the names of the people who laughed at it. Anyway, okay, I'm sorry, go ahead. Did you?
No, I think she's very qualified to do this.
Properly moved and seconded. So all those in favor of naming Ms. Nadine Williams, our election chief interim director after the departure of Mr. Barron on April 1st, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? There are none. Congratulations, Ms. Williams. We'll look forward to working with you in that capacity.
Yes,
Yes.
thank you so much.
Now I need to motion to adjourn.
I make a motion to adjourn.
Second?
Properly moved and seconded. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Motion is carries. We're adjourned.
Thank you.
Thank you.